Eight volunteers, 45-degree water. This is Cold Water Boot Camp USA. We have selected 8 very hardy volunteers from across the country to subject them to icy cold water and teach them how to survive an accidental cold water immersion.
Okay, boot campers, welcome. The best way to learn about cold water immersion is to jump right in. You've got your gear, go on and get suited up, and then you're all gonna go for a swim. Okay? Let's go. All right.
I'm Mark Chansky from the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection's Boating Division, and my job there is to teach people proper boating.
My name is Tim Folan. I am from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I am the co-owner of Bad Fish Outfitters, a fishing outfitter on the Cape.
I'm Jonah Pike with the United States Coast Guard. I'm a boatswain first class, coxswain, and that means I'm a boat driver with the Coast Guard.
I'm Rachel Vercoder with the National Safe Boating Council.
The boot campers were chosen because they were well above average in their knowledge and experience in boating, water safety, and rescue. If any group of volunteers could be expected to do well and beat the odds at Cold Water Boot Camp, it would be this group.
I'm Mario Battoni. I'm a Chief Aviation Survival Technician with the U.S. Coast Guard stationed at the Aviation Technical Training Center in Elizabeth City, North Carolina.
I'm Chuck Yost. I'm a wildlife officer for the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency.
My name's Ashante Davis. I'm in the United States Coast Guard.
My name's Victor Gamboa. I work for Nevada Department of Wildlife, and what we normally do is patrol out on Lake Mead on a patrol boat.
Hi, I'm Ted Rankin, and welcome to Cold Water Boot Camp. Over the next half hour, we're going to show you why people die in cold water, why year after year so many lives are lost to cold water. You see, most people don't understand the effects of cold water immersion, and some end up paying the ultimate price. So pay attention, this program could save your life.
The instructor for boot camp is Dr. Gordon Giesbrecht, professor of thermophysiology at the University of Manitoba, where he runs the laboratory for exercise and environmental medicine and studies human responses to exercise and work in extreme environments. Dr. Giesbrecht is one of the world's leading authorities on freezing to death and believes the best way to study the effects of cold on the human body is to get intimate with the elements.
Well, in my early 20s, I used to make a living as a wilderness guide. And so whether you're whitewater rafting or mountaineering or many other activities, hypothermia is always a concern. So I was always interested in it. And as it turns out, I didn't know a lot about it because I went back to university and got my undergrad, and then I went in to do my master's thesis, and I was trying to find a topic, but because of that interest I'd had from before, I managed to get into doing a study on hypothermia. The number that you pick will be the order that you get to come down here in. So you guys need to go up, and we'll get you changed, and then one at a time come on down here and we'll do our thing.
As our boot campers head to the water, here are a few cold hard facts.
The 2007 study of recreational boating accidents by the United States Coast Guard found that water temperatures made a difference. In water between 70 and 79 degrees, only 8% of the accidents were fatal, while accidents in water with a temperature of under 59 degrees, more than 40% were fatal. That means your risk of dying in cold water under 59 degrees is increased by 500%. Drowning statistics studied by the Life Saving Society revealed that when it came to boaters, 60% drowned in water under 50 degrees and 34% drowned in water between 50 and 68 degrees. What makes it even more chilling is the fact that 43% were less than 6 feet from safety, and the majority, about 90%, were not wearing a life jacket. So why don't people wear life jackets? Research revealed that many said they don't need them if they're close to shore. Some felt that they could put their life jackets on in the water, and most said they didn't need one because they can swim.
Well, as our boot campers are about to find out, that in this 45-degree water, none of those reasons are valid.
To keep the boot campers safe during their immersions, a large contingent of safety and rescue personnel have been assembled, and the person at the center of the team is Master Chief Nick Suvak, commander at the Coast Guard Station Fairport Harbor in Fairport, Ohio, our base of operations for Coldwater Boot Camp USA.
Stay back, okay? We need you guys to do your job when it's your time to do your job.
Okay, Ashante, it's the moment of truth. We're going to take you on a boat, take you out to the U.S. Coast Guard boat there. So what I want you to do when you're ready, we'll give you instructions. Just jump in, and then I want you to swim towards this buoy.
Okay.
And if you make it that far, just give a little tag and then swim towards me over here. Okay? And just basically want you to swim as far as you can. And there'll be a rescue swimmer right behind you. You won't see him, but he's like, if you say something, he can grab you immediately. So don't worry about that. Just focus on the task and swim there. And if you hit there, come and swim towards me. I'll call you if you can't see where to go on the beach. Okay? Okay, so she had a couple of big gasps there, started swimming right away.
Calm yourself, calm yourself, calm yourself, calm yourself. Keep breathing, keep breathing.
Okay, so that was very good, very good. Very good example because she was ready to pack it in immediately.
Calm yourself. When you're ready, when you're ready. It's okay. All right? Yeah.
And I thought I could handle it, like when you first get in, like you can't breathe, like you have no control, but I think with the rescue swimmer calming me down, at some point, like your body just goes numb.
So if the rescue swimmer hadn't been there, what do you think would have happened?
I probably would have panicked.
And then what?
Drowned. It's not safe to go out and do this at all.
Another guy with the crawl. Wow. We'll see how long the crawl lasts. Oh, he's still going pretty strong after 20 yards. Now he's trying to do the crawl, and his arms can hardly come out of the water. So tell me about your experience. First of all, what happened when you jumped in?
It was cold, but I knew it would be.
Okay, and then you started swimming?
So I swam, and I got about 3/4 of the way, and I started getting winded. Tried to backstroke just to do something different. Try to get my wind back, which it helped some. I swallowed some water. I couldn't get a breath. It's like I would try to breathe, and I was trying to, but I couldn't get any air.
Right.
So then the rescue swimmer, at that point, I guess that's when he grabbed me and started working my way in. And
oh, without the rest?
Without the rest, I would have drowned.
Yeah. Interesting, that's the slowest start we've had, and the biggest respiratory response we've seen. Another attempt at the backstroke. The thing with the backstroke, it does buy you time, but it slows you down. So sooner or later, this is going to catch up to him.
It felt forever. It's so painful to kick. Like every kick is like, I just kept checking my hands to make sure they were there. It was horrendous. I was getting dizzy. Like you look around and you don't know which way you're looking. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Mario's doing the breaststroke. So it'll be interesting to see if he stays on his front, if he'll be able to last as long. We know that swimming on your front takes more energy than swimming on your back. You also get more speed, but so it'll be interesting to see how this works. And Mario's still breathing pretty heavy here, and he's gone halfway.
Better ideas than that before.
He was feeling pretty good because he was doing the breaststroke, so then he tried the crawl, and that only lasted half a lap, and he's paying the price for that now. It takes an awful lot of energy to do that in cold water. So tell me about your experience.
Well, I felt like it took about a minute and a half to get over that. Hyperventilating.
Okay.
And skin started to feel a lot different.
Different how? From what to what?
From cold to a little number. And then it hurt.
Cold, numb, and then hurt. Yeah, okay.
Really burning kind of pain.
You don't think you could have gone much longer?
No, I couldn't go much longer. I was about to go there, I thought.
When you came up here, I noticed you're the only guy who's crawled all the way up here. Why'd you do that? You couldn't stand, or just thought that was easier, or what?
Well, yeah, I didn't think I'd be able to stand up.
In turn, each of the boot campers had their first cold water immersion. With the controlled conditions and calm water, all were able to survive longer during this first swim than they might have in a real-life situation. But regardless, they all failed, and when they did, they were all normal thermic. After this first immersion, Dr. Giesbrecht took them into the classroom to talk about what they had just experienced.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Good. Well, you had an interesting experience this morning, and I'm just going to ask you one question. So what just happened? I just want to hear you folks tell us. Ashante, why don't you tell us what happened?
My experience was when I first jumped in, I wasn't expecting to be in like an immediate shock. And when it happened, I lost control of concentration. I couldn't breathe. And I thought it was going to be like that for a long time. So I started to panic, and I felt myself going under. But with the rescue diver being there and walking me through, I gained control of my breathing. And then soon after that, I just took off swimming, and it was easier.
Go ahead, Victor.
Well, one of the things that I noticed is that about 30 seconds after I started swimming, I was not able to swim anymore. All of the energy was drained because of the cold water, and I expected to swim a lot longer, but I was not able to do it. I had to resort to just floating.
So, Chuck, why don't you tell us what happened to you? What would you learn from that?
I didn't make it as far as I thought I would have. And then the reason that I would have drowned had a rescue guy hadn't caught me, it wasn't because I was so cold, it was because I was just out of air. I couldn't go any further. When I came out of the water, I was surprised at how much trouble I had walking onto the shore. I actually fell.
Okay, what's cold water? What do you think is the definition of what temperature and below? What do you think?
Anything below 68 degrees.
Below 68 degrees. Did you see my talk here? Yeah, so there it is. Anything below, and actually people, that surprises a lot of people. They think, well, 68 degrees, that's not too cold. But we define that as anything where you cannot indefinitely defend your body temperature. So if you jumped in 65-degree water, you might not feel too bad for a while, but if you had a life jacket on and you sat there for hours, eventually you would lose it. So we did this survey, 661 people that I've given seminars to, and before I gave them it, we would hand out some simple questions. And I'll give you the responses to one question, which was, you know, how long, if you were wearing winter clothing and you fell into ice water, how long until you became hypothermic? Not dead from hypothermic, just hypothermic. And you can see here that it's pretty interesting. 50% of the people said 5 minutes or less. And if you go on here, like if you add that, 70% of the people who responded said 10 minutes or less. And the reality is, as we're going to talk about, the answer is actually 30 minutes or more, only if you have a life jacket on. So we're going to describe cold water immersion. We're going to talk about those first three phases. The first one is the cold shock response. Then there's cold incapacitation, which kind of happens within 5 to 15 minutes. And then hypothermia will only set in 30 minutes or longer. So in parallel, we're going to talk about this 1-10-1 principle that we developed. It goes like this: 1 minute to get your breathing under control. You have 10 minutes of meaningful movement, and you have 1 hour before you become unconscious due to hypothermia. So let's review these three effects. The first one, the cold shock response. We tell people that it lasts about a minute. Now gasping, you know, we don't need to speak to that. You get a cold blast of anything, and you keep your head above water as much as you can, because if you gasp when your head's underwater, you could inhale more than a liter of water in the first gasp, and if you do that, you're basically done. And the other thing about uncontrolled breathing is, and I don't think most people think about this, but when we're running or playing games or swimming, we usually entrain our physical movements with our breathing pattern. But now, if you have uncontrolled breathing, it makes it very difficult to control your swimming, as we saw a few cases earlier on. Second effect, cold incapacitation. We saw that a bit earlier, and we're going to see that quite a bit later on in our next set of swimming, right? So and it's all about just the effect of cold on muscle and nerve cells, right? Muscle cells do the action, nerve cells send the signal. You make either of those cold, and you're not going to be able to perform. It's pretty, you know, the physiology is complicated, but the principle is simple. Okay, so in water that's near freezing, incapacitation can occur within 2 to 10 minutes. So to review the second phase of cold water immersion regarding cold incapacitation, consider the following. You have 10 minutes of meaningful movement for self-rescue, and once you start to get weak, you're not going to get any stronger. So the third effect is hypothermia. This is what everybody associates with cold water immersion. So the realities are, even in ice water, it'll take 1 hour before you become unconscious due to hypothermia. Only if you have a life jacket on, because there's no way without a life jacket that you can keep your head above water long enough. Okay? So a life jacket really increases your chance of survival, as we all know. And remember, you're trying to increase your survival time, and even if you can increase it 10 minutes or an hour, that could make the difference between living and dying. So that's really it. Again, you have the three phases, which are cold shock, cold incapacitation, and hypothermia, and all the stuff that entails. But you have one simple principle: 1 minute to get your breathing under control, 10 minutes of meaningful movement, 1 hour before you become unconscious due to hypothermia. 1 minute, 10 minutes, 1 hour. And if you can just remember that, that's your cue to remember a whole textbook of cold physiology that will help you survive.
Well, the lesson for our boot campers is clear. In order to survive an accidental cold water immersion, the first step is to keep your airway clear and get your breathing under control before you do anything else. If you're able to do that first, your chances of survival will be increased. And the second is, regardless of your swimming ability, the key to surviving a cold water immersion is to have your life jacket on before you enter the water. Well, our boot campers are finished for today, but tomorrow they'll be back, and we're going to be taking them all the way to incapacitation and beyond into hypothermia.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
What the hell are we thinking? Don't worry, we'll get you.
Today, the campers were tasked with some specific incapacitation tests. 4 volunteers headed just offshore to go for another swim, but this one was a little different from the one before. Chuck and Jonah and Ashante and Rachel were each asked to take a swim in pairs, one with a life jacket and one without.
When I first jumped in, it was the same as yesterday. Completely in shock, couldn't breathe, but now that I knew to take my time instead of just jumping in and swimming automatically, I took my time and I got a hold of my breath. But I was surprised at how difficult it was. Yesterday was so much easier, but today with the wind factor and the water blowing in my face, it just made it 10 times harder, and I gave up a lot faster.
You guys take her to the 25.
You're doing good, Rachel. How are you doing? Okay?
Second swim was much better than the first. I was wearing the life jacket the second time, and it was just night and day between the two. It kind of felt warmer in the water. I felt just more in control of everything.
Okay, now Rachel was doing very well with her PFD. In fact, I just asked her, and she actually said she was okay to keep swimming. Now she's getting very cold, but obviously she swam a lot further than she or Ashante would have been able to do without a life jacket.
Always wear your life jacket.
I was surprised that, how dangerous the water can be, and you can't make it without a life jacket. You drown. It's completely impossible because you just become so exhausted.
Oh man, these guys haven't learned their lesson yet.
I let my head get underwater when I jumped in. And I knew better than that, but I did it.